Okay, we're going to call the July meeting of the Falls Township Planning Commission to order. Please rise and salute the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, before we start, just in case there's anybody else out there, we're having some technical difficulties with microphones, so we're going to have to pass a handheld one back and forth a little bit, but we'll make it work. So could you please call the roll?
Brian Benny.
Here.
Mary Leschuk here. Edward Crowe. Not present. John Haney.
Not present.
Not present. Colin Henderson.
Here.
All right, thank you. There's been a slight change in the agenda, so the first item on our agenda is the review of an ordinance regarding outdoor dining. So the ordinance was in your emails a few weeks ago, and we were going to have it on the agenda, and we missed it somehow, so we threw it back on there. In essence, and Matt, you can correct me if I'm wrong, this basically takes the outdoor dining provisions for all the zoning districts where it's applicable, and it makes them an accessory use rather than conditional uses in the old ordinance. Is that pretty much it, Matt?
That's correct. And it's subject to the regulations of 38.4, which is the new section that's part of this proposed ordinance. And that governs the outdoor dining generally.
Which that section was also attached. So is there any
Correct.
Is there any questions from the board? If there's no questions, then I'll entertain a motion to I'll make a recommendation that we recommend that the supervisors approve this zoning change.
Second.
I'll second.
All the board?
Brian Benny.
Yes.
Mary Leschuk. Yes. Colin Henderson.
Yes.
All right, great. All right, we'll move on to the next item on our agenda is Raising Cane's Restaurant, 640 Commerce Drive, Fairless Hills, PA. Tax parcel 13-003-036-006. It's demolishing existing macaroni grill and construction of the new restaurant with a drive-through.
Good evening. Mike McGinnis from Begley Carlin here on behalf of Raising Cane's. I also have Kevin Tatlow from Bowler with me, and I believe online Adam Caracci of Raising Cane's should be available as well. The property is 640 Commerce Boulevard. As you stated, Mr. Binney, it's the former Macaroni Grill site. The tax parcel is 13-003-36-006, and the board might be aware that the site's been vacant since March of 2020. The property is zoned SC, and we did appear in front of the zoning hearing board in June and received a number of variances to facilitate our proposal, which is in front of you tonight. Raising Cane's is a chicken finger only restaurant chain. We'll get into who Raising Cane's is more momentarily, but first, I'd just like to very briefly go over the site plan. Our overall plan is to demolish the existing macaroni grill structure, and then in its place, as you can see on the plan, we're looking to replace it with a building which is approximately 3,329 square feet with a 541 square foot patio canopy. There will be seating both indoor and outdoor. That question came up at the zoning hearing board as to whether we would have indoor seating, and we would, but there is an outdoor seating component to this as well. In conjunction with this plan, we are actually reducing the impervious surface, and we are adding more green space than what's there presently. We're creating, as you can see, and Kevin will go through this briefly, a drive-through concept with 2 drive-through lanes to cut down on the queuing and stacking. And Adam, who's with us, I believe, online, can go over the logistics of this. But there's a striped crosswalk. The employees on Raising Cane's end are rotated approximately every 30 minutes. There's air-conditioned space there in the summer so the employees wouldn't get overheated. And then we don't see the same level of stacking and queuing with Raising Cane's operations as we do with some of Raising Cane's competitors, because Raising Cane sells one product, literally. And that allows a level of production that facilitates a reduction of queuing and stacking. The average time from when an individual comes and places an order to when it's fulfilled and delivered is 2.5 minutes. As I stated, Adam is going to give a bit more information about Raising Cane's, but just a very broad, high-level summary. Raising Cane's has over 500 locations nationally. It is not a small business, it's a national brand. This is our first expansion into Pennsylvania in the Northeast. So this would, if we get approved by the supervisors, be the first site in the state. They're very active in the local community. They did not lay off any employees due to COVID. They actually created what was labeled a crew relief fund, where they made $2 million available to their employees who dealt with COVID issues. And I think you'll see, again, assuming we're fortunate enough to get approval, you'll see that level of commitment that they are looking to partner with the township and be an active member in this community going forward. And I think Adam can probably address better than I can who Raising Cane's is, and if you can have your indulgence, I'll turn the floor over to him briefly to give a little bit of background about his organization. We'll have Kevin very briefly go through the site plan, and then we just have very few waivers to just address with the board.
That's fine. Please proceed.
Adam.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, members of the board. I appreciate your opportunity this evening to hear from us on our proposal. As Mike said, he very well summarized who we are as a business, but we're a chicken finger only quick serve restaurant. So that means we sell one thing, chicken finger meals. That's our one love. And it is basically your choice of 2, 3, 4, or 6 chicken fingers. It all comes with French fries, coleslaw, cane sauce, and Texas toast. Basic options for beverages, Coke products, tea, lemonade. So it's a very minimal, we like to call it a refined menu, and that is how we do what we do well. And you know, that's basically get people in and out of the operation as quickly as possible and serve them the freshest food possible. So the minute that you enter the site, they basically know that you're ordering chicken fingers, and they can drop them in the fryer through a series of cameras. They see you entering either the drive-through or through the front door, and they're dropping chicken. So by the time you order, it's ready. They can box it. They can get it to you as quickly as you get to the window. So it's a very efficient operation. We were founded by Todd Graves in Baton Rouge, Louisiana in 1996. So it's a fairly young business. And since then, we have grown to over 500 restaurants, as Mike mentioned, primarily in the South and the Southwest, but this would be one of the first locations in Pennsylvania. There are a few locations in Massachusetts, Ohio, so that there are some in that region, but this would be kind of our start of our big expansion into the Northeast. We are very active in the community, as Mike said. Our core philanthropies that we are behind are obviously entrepreneurship, because we were started by an individual who took out a small business loan and created his business. He worked hard for 2 years in the oil fields of California and as a sockeye fisherman in Alaska to raise the funds to start his business. And as a result, that is still part of who we are today, and we want to support other people that are in that position. Our mascot is a dog, hence the name Raising Cane's, because at the time the restaurant was unnamed as it was under construction. They decided that they would name it Raising Cane's because Todd always brought his dog named Cane to the restaurant while it was under construction, and thus the name Raising Cane's. So our mascot, being the dog, lends well to our philanthropy of pet welfare. So you'll often see us in the community supporting animal shelters, etc. We also are behind education, active lifestyles, and pretty much any other philanthropy that somebody might bring to us. it's not just some, person up at corporate that is, handing out checks. This is somebody that is local to this restaurant. That is their specific job, is to find ways to give back to the community. So it's a big part of who we are. I won't take up any much more of your time. I just wanted to go over, a little more specifics of who we are and where we came from, and show my face. I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person this evening, but we will hopefully see you guys soon. I'll turn it back over to Mike.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Adam. And I will, perhaps out of order, just note that we have received both the review letters from Remington and Vernick and from Joe Jones' office. The traffic-related items in Remington and Vernick's review letter will complies. Everything in Joe Jones' letter is a will comply, with the exception of waiver requests pertaining to the installation of sidewalks along the frontage. I think the board's aware those do not exist in the shopping center, and those are particularly waivers from 191-39G, 191-60A. And then we do have one partial waiver. I've identified it as a partial waiver from 191-30, because I-2. We are supplying traffic data, and we're in communication with Remington Vernick. So we are going to satisfy all of their traffic-related requests, but we are asking for a waiver to not actually supply a traffic impact study, and that's been communicated with Remington and Vernick. So we've coined that a partial waiver request. And then just very, very briefly, I'll have Kevin just give a little quick summary of the plan, and we'll open it up for any questions that the board has.
Thanks, Mike. Kevin Tatlow from Bowler Engineering. We're the site civil engineers for the project. So as Mike mentioned, this is going to the site of the existing Macaroni Grill. The new Raising Cane's building is generally in the same areas where the current Macaroni Grill is, except it's a much smaller building. It's about half the size of it. So what that allows us to do is provide more drive-through and more stacking for cars along there. And then we also were able to reduce some of the parking as well too, and add additional green space as well. So as we're reducing the parking, we still have sufficient parking in the front along Oxford Valley Road to still satisfy what the restaurant use needs. And the other thing we did is we pretty much tried to maintain the existing perimeter of the site. So along Oxford Valley, along Commerce Boulevard, that's really all remaining as existing. We're really just improving the area within the Macaroni Grill pad area site. And with having the 2 drive-through lanes in addition to a bypass, that really allows more cars in the stacking lane to help with the turnover there. Instead of just having 1 drive-through lane with more stacking, there's 2 drive-through lanes and a bypass lane as well. So.
Mr. McGinnis, just you mentioned the 2-part waivers, or 1 waiver and partial waiver. Did you also require a partial waiver from 191-78C2?
Let me pull up that section.
No, that's the section that requires existing features within 200 feet.
Page 7.
Kevin, are we asking for a partial waiver as well there?
Yes, I believe so.
That's a typical waiver request that we ordinarily would ask for in a development of this nature.
Yes, as far as the existing additions, we just really surveyed within the general vicinity of the existing Macaroni Grill site and where the improvements will take place.
All right, great, thanks. I have a couple questions. So, they tell me that this one's gonna work, so let's see. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Colin, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, great. So, the the stacking lanes, I know you have some distances on here, but the ordinance requires for 6 cars. How many cars will fit in those stacking lanes?
So we have about 22 cars can stack in both lanes, 11 per lane from the pickup window back through to the end of the drive-through. And then from the menu boards, I believe there is at least 6 spaces per menu board from the menu board back in the stacking lane.
And this grayed out area but the menu boards, that's a canopy, I assume?
Correct, yes. That's the canopy above the menu boards.
And is there anything to protect the innermost sandwich board from being hit by a car? It seems like it's in a striped area, but I don't see any curbing or protection there.
Correct, so that doesn't have any curbing around it. The other menu board that's on the outer lane is within an island there.
Yeah. I also noted that when the truck loads or unloads, whichever the case may be, that it blocks the driveway and the drive-through and the entrance.
So all the deliveries for it occur during off hours when I believe the store closes around, 11 o'clock. So most of the deliveries are off hours between 11 and 6 a.m. So that no one should be at the store in the drive-through when the truck arrives.
And so you have some variances for reduction in parking spaces, so that, and I think, I don't know if I did the math correctly, is it a reduction of like 79 spaces or something like that?
We have 79 spaces.
Yeah, we're
left.
losing 70 spaces.
So in the calculations, you calculated the shopping center as a whole, and you calculated this as a restaurant, but there's another restaurant in the shopping center. So how would that impact your parking calculations if that was calculated as a restaurant rather than a shopping center?
So when we did the restaurant calc for this site, 79 spaces are required, and that's what we're providing, 79 spaces within the Raising Cane's area. So even though we're reducing 70 from out there, it's still, that 79 meets what the restaurant use would need for this site.
In a vacuum, our site would be compliant. The only reason we needed a variance was with respect to the overall shopping center calc.
Any questions, Mayor?
How much storage and product do you normally have? You said that, you're getting your supply from somewhere around like 11 o'clock at night to 6 in the morning. Like, do you ever run out? Like, how much storage do you actually have?
Sure, so that might be something Adam probably address.
Yes, we get chicken deliveries every morning. I do want to clarify that the restaurant closes at 1:30 on Sunday, 1:30 a.m. on Sunday through Thursday, and 3:30 a.m. Friday and Saturday. So those deliveries do come after the restaurant closes still. So it's very early in the morning. Chicken comes every morning. Paper, Coca-Cola products, etc. Those tend to come once a week. There's ample storage space in the back of house, very large walk-in cooler. There's a walk-in freezer for the French fries, and there's corral space on the back of the building, so an enclosed service area for any sort of delivery so that they're not left out.
Okay.
Mr. Henderson, you have any questions?
Sorry about that. None at this time.
Okay. I had one question, and Mr. McGinnis, maybe you can address this. There was a comment that was in the Bucks County Planning Commission's review letter regarding the tax parcel. So the there's separate tax parcels for each one of these buildings in that shopping center. Now that you're changing the footprint of what was there, the Macaroni Grill, you're gonna address changing the tax parcel to represent this building. How's that gonna be impacted?
Are you asking if we'll file a documentation? Are you asking if we'll file documentation with the county, considering this is its own unique parcel ID?
Right, so this footprint would not fall within the existing footprint of the Macaroni Grill.
Right.
And so it would technically straddle a property line or parcel line.
So I guess the tax parcel needs to be readjusted, either whatever your lease agreement is with the shopping center or whatever, to be this footprint rather than the Macaroni Grill footprint.
So there is an existing condominium line as well too, that's with, surrounds the Macaroni Grill, that the new building, and the outdoor patio is within that condo line.
Right. But it also has its own tax parcel.
He's correct. It does have its own tax parcel as a condominium, but it's not a property line, so it would need to be updated, however that process is with
Right,
the
so,
county tax assessor.
so we'll verify this, Mr. Binney, but, in your, is the condo line on this side? Sorry. We have a plan on the other side here, we might flip. But the answer is we would have to work with the township and then with the county to address the lot line to bring it into compliance in that scenario. And that's something that I'm sure we can address. Yeah, and Kevin is outlining right now the
So it's just something that I know normally the comments on the Bucks County Planning Commission are just regurgitated letters or comments from other letters.
Right.
But in this particular case, it is a comment that has some kind of relevance, so maybe you guys just look into it.
Yeah, we'll analyze that, and we'll have a conversation with Goldenberg. I'm sure it's easily addressed. We just haven't, and I don't want to speak for Adam, but I don't think I've had a conversation with them about this yet. But that's something that we can certainly address, both with Goldenberg and with the county, and to the solicitor's
And it'd
satisfaction.
probably be beneficial to your client to have a smaller footprint than the Macaroni Grill.
I would imagine that's correct, yes.
Mr. Jones, you have anything you'd like to add?
Your mic wasn't on, Joe.
We have no comments at this time.
All right. Dave, is there any public comment? All right.
Okay.
And,
Hey, Brian, I have a question.
go ahead.
So you said you were gonna have employees on the striped lines. Would they be taking orders as well or taking payment to speed up the process?
Did you hear that? So he said you're gonna have employees on
By the
the,
side rail?
I think,
Yes, that is correct, sir. So basically, there will be crew members out there with tablets taking card payments and bringing food out from the window to the car. So that's how it gets from that outside lane building to the outside lane. There's a crew member bringing it to you and taking your payment and taking your order. It helps expedite it so it doesn't bottleneck at the pickup window.
That's only on the outside lane.
No, it's on the inside as well. So basically during peak hours, like lunch rush and dinner rush, the drive-through menu boards are turned off and it's all crew members taking your order, pulling you forward. And that's how that efficiency stays good basically during that lunch rush is you're removing the human error out of it by having people out there directing traffic and shutting off the pinch points.
Okay, well, my only question is, so on the outside lane, you have curbing, on the inside lane, you don't have any curbing at all. So is there do you have any ballards that are gonna go out there to protect these employees from,
There-
the vehicles?
So we actually feel that a raised median would be more of a trip hazard for them. So it is currently striped with yellow markings. They wear yellow safety vests. They're rotated out frequently. Water is provided. They have a crew amenity station under the canopy to make it a more hospitable environment. But we do feel that the raised sidewalk is more of a trip hazard.
Okay, so, well, what about ballards instead? That's not, a tripping hazard.
Bollards would provide maneuvering obstacles. So say there were an emergency event in the drive-through, the crew members can also direct traffic to get people out of there and make the car accessible to first responders. So bollards would be a barrier to that.
Okay? That's all I have.
All right, thanks. And I assume, Mr. McGinnis, the fire marshal's letter will comply?
Yes, that's correct.
And I'll
Pick
back
up, that's correct.
If there's no other comments or questions, then I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to recommend approval for the preliminary land development application for Raising Cane's, 640 Commerce Boulevard, Fairless Hills, PA, TMP number 13-003-036-006, Zone SC, based on the Jones Engineering Associates letter dated July 9th, 2021, the fire marshal letter dated 5/17/21, and the Remington Vernix Engineering letter dated June 16th, 2021. Within that letter for the Remington Vernix Engineers letter, given that they will comply for the comments in the traffic review. Also, with waivers with a partial waiver of 191-30I2, with a waiver of 191-60A, and 191-39G. There it is. And a partial waiver of 191-78C2. Is that it?
Yes, that's correct.
Just making sure.
I'll second. Poll the board, please.
Brian Benny,
Yes.
Mary Leschuk, yes. Colin Henderson,
Yes.
All right, great. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you very much.
have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So the last, well, not the last item, but there was something that Joe had sent out earlier today, late today, I should say, not earlier today. And it was just a picture of probable sidewalk locations down at the North Point development. And since it was out late, there is no discussion necessary, or there is no decision necessary. But if you could just take a look at it and forward your comments to Joe, if there's any, Joe, if there's anything you'd like to add right now?
Nothing, Mr. Chairman. The sidewalk exhibit that you see was provided to us by the KTC North Point engineer, Gilmore Associates, as their idea for sidewalks throughout the KTC, and specifically for building number 3, which will be subject to approval at the Board of Supervisors in August. So we're asking for feedback on sidewalk location as it reflects on building 3 and 1. So if you could forward comments for that, we'd appreciate it, and we'd incorporate it into our comments for the board meeting in August.
All right, great. Does anybody have any questions right now? No, I think, yeah, given the timing, I think, yeah, just review it, and if you have any comments or questions, send them out to Joe. Other than that, the last item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes from June 22nd. Is there any questions on the minutes? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
I'll make a motion.
I'll make that move.
Oh,
All in favor?
aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. You guys enjoy